Hey there, Cheesemeisters.
That would have been
The motherfucking hukilau. And we went with the Don Ho version. I'm not sure that Don Ho is the one singing the hukilau in the episode at the Beverly Hills Beach Club Big Luau to end the summer. But I don't know. This is like literally the only reason I know the song The Hukilau, and I kind of love it.
That's funny.
Hey, Brandon, can you dance the hukilau with me?
Oh, robbing the cradle there, Brandon.
Man, isn't that a theme?
Too soon.
I know. All right, Cheesemeisters. I am Jeff, and I'm creative, articulate, intelligent, and I look pretty good in fitted jeans. And joining me on the other end of the internet is my cuz-host.
I'm Leslie, and I look good in hats.
Big old floppy fucking hats, too. How about those hats? Yeah.
So many of the same type of hat, but do I want them? Yes, I do.
Yeah, Brenda did have a pretty large assortment of big old floppy hats.
For someone, again, who claims to not have money, hats are expensive.
Yeah, that's true. Especially big old stylish floppy Annie Hall hats.
Yes.
I'm wondering how many adjectives can be shoved into the description of a hat, because I think I just used like 6. So big old floppy Annie Hall, 4 at least. It's a lot of descriptors for a hat that was only seen once. The hat that was maybe not seen as many times as a shawl was in this episode.
Oh my God, the shawl.
So I guess we should let everybody know that this week we are talking about Season 2, Episode 6, Pass Not Pass, which originally aired on October 15th, 1991. But before we dig into the episode that neither one of us understands the name of, did we miss anything from Play It Again, David, that we need to go back and touch on?
I miss the innocence I had.
Prior to seeing this episode?
I miss the joy from last week's episode. I miss the ease.
When you get away from Mel Silver DDS.
This episode broke me. I'm already crying.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me that this episode shattered you into a bunch of tiny little pieces. And
so many triggers.
I guess we're gonna have to get into that. So
I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. This 33-year-old silly piece of shit gave you some feelings.
Oh my God.
I mean, you never know, I guess is so leading up to this episode, which is the last episode of summer. So it's, Andrea, and this is what happens in the episode. Andrea and Brenda both sort of set their sights on Chris Suter, and he sets his sights on the sights and sounds of Los Angeles. And Andrea, Brandon finally buys his car, but it's a piece of shit. Brandon gets his job back at the Peach Pit because we got a reset for the school year, get him back in that location. Jim pays for the overhaul of Brandon's piece of shit. Summer comes to an end. Dylan comes back. Now it's time for school. And in the run-up to this episode, I was very excited for you to see it. Because at the beginning of the summer, you were like, that Chris Suter's a piece of shit. You hated him from Jump Street. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited that Leslie's going to get to see exactly how right she was. And then there were other things in this episode, like the Lucy Liu appearance and, Brandon finally getting his car and that kind of stuff that was like stuff that happens that it's like, oh, this is real stuff in the show that sort of carries forward. What I didn't expect was that you had a deep personal connection to what happened in that acting class.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was like, isn't this fun? And you're like, fuck everything.
Yeah.
Like, so, but like you just never fucking know what's gonna hit somebody because you know, I don't know how much you want to get into that, but this your experience this week of this episode must have been its own special little magical box.
Yes. I think we can get into it as we go through it, because I don't want to just bring down the fun and the frivolity of this show in this episode. But yeah, this one hit some spots. I didn't just yell at my TV. I threw a pen. I think I had a stress ball at one point. Like,
Oof.
it was, my partner was sitting next to me playing his game, and I think occasionally, like, checking in.
Right. Are you okay? This show seems to be landing in some way.
Like, this show was doing things to me that I think people would expect, something like Grey's Anatomy to be doing, or Breaking Bad. I don't know. Something far more dramatic. Maybe people would expect Euphoria, which is why I'm never going to watch Euphoria.
Right. Or like, see, your reaction felt to me like every Facebook I saw every time a This Is Us episode aired.
Yes. Exactly.
Like, oh, Jesus. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot.
Am I glad that all of my beliefs about Chris Suter were validated? Absolutely. Was I still mad that people like him exist and get away with it and get to work at all-girls schools?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd forgotten that that's where he goes at the end of this episode, and that is messed up.
If there was ever a time that I needed an ending like in Gentle Art of Listening, it was this episode. I needed Axel Foley to pop out again and say, freeze! And arrest Chris Suter and just take away his teaching license. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And it would have been amazing.
So, I don't know. I feel like that...
I needed the crisis hotline after this episode.
Well, that's true. I think that we're going to end up out of order in this episode.
We are.
And people just have to deal with it. So, that might be something, and I hadn't thought about this, that the episode might have been about. Like, maybe Chris Suter getting that job is the point of the story. Like, the point of the story for the whole summer is these guys are out there. Maybe this is a cautionary tale, and it's not really handled like a cautionary tale. No. But maybe because that's kind of what this is. It's like, hey, this guy charmed you. He, and not just you, he charmed things out of David and Donna that hadn't been there before. He brought things forward out of Brenda that hadn't been on the surface. Like, she thought that the coat thing and getting lost was like a trauma experience, but that was a positive childhood memory.
Yeah.
And Andrea, took that step forward, not only as someone willing to put herself out there on stage, but also as someone willing to put herself out there for a guy.
Yeah.
Which she had been super reticent to do with Brandon. Right? So here's this guy, this charismatic guy, this guy who looks like Elvis, who, not for nothing, was hired because he'd been in an Elvis miniseries, and that was literally his only qualification for this. And these people are out there, and they can draw you out and build your confidence. And if they're not real people, if they're not honest, if they're not truthful, if they're not of good intent, they can do considerable harm. And when they're done, they get a better job.
He says something that is so horrifying to me, but I just realized he probably heard another teacher say it, which, again, is how this stuff has been going on for so long.
Yeah.
But, and I don't remember verbatim, but he says something to Andrea along the lines of, I needed you to trust me. So I became a character of someone you would trust.
Yeah, I became the person you wanted me to be.
Like,
basically.
fuck you. That's not your
Mhm.
job as an acting teacher.
Right.
You went to one audition. You clearly went to one class
Right.
in a semester.
Yeah.
This is one of the many reasons why I get so irate when people used to tell me, "Oh, why aren't you a theater teacher?" I don't need to be a theater teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I know where my problems are, and I know exactly how I might mishandle them because how they were mishandled with me. And I'm
Sure.
working through those.
Right. You don't want to pass that on.
I don't want to pass that on. I'm also never going to fucking listen to parents and whatever shows they want their kid to be in. Like, no.
Uh-huh.
I would be terrible.
Right.
My mom thankfully knows this. Everyone else telling her and telling me does not.
Right. Yeah, I don't think anyone thought of it that way.
No, they haven't.
They just think, here's a way you can use your talents.
And bless them for thinking it's that simple.
Yeah, I think that's really where it comes down to, you know.
Yeah.
And I think people think that of a lot of different professions.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you can just go teach this. No, it's the acting one is a little more complicated, you know, than like just going to be a chemistry teacher or something.
Yeah.
But the chemistry teacher, just because he knows chemistry doesn't mean he knows how to teach. You know, like it's not always that kind of a move for people.
Yeah. But I like your idea, and I would like to live in a world where this serves as a cautionary tale.
Yeah, like that's like the cautionary tale part of it. It's all in the text, you know, but it's not given that weight, really.
No.
Which is weird. Like the focus turns to the relationship between Brenda and Andrea and how they interact with each other and how they're like, you know, sisters before misters. Like let's not let a guy come between us, which is, you know, sure, like fine, let that be something that a way your relationship evolves out of this.
Lord help the sister who gets between me and my mister.
Right, but Lord help the sister who gets between me and my man.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like it goes both ways.
It does.
High and frilly your collar. So, but it's not. Yeah, it's just not given that weight, and I kind of wish it was, because then what you get coming out of the summer is like, wow, some fucked up shit happened on this show this summer, and that's messy. But what you get is summer's over. Let's all go back to school.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and again, I think it all comes down to the excuse everyone hates, but the times. I don't think people had the language. I don't think people realized how big of a problem this was.
Yeah, maybe. It's the complication with this show.
Yeah.
Which is that it wants to be that. It wants to tell that story, but it also wants to be this other thing that it is. You know, which is the soapy teen drama. You know, it's not super soapy yet, but like the teen drama and the issue episode where you can move on from it. And they told this Chris Suter Predator story over the course of a whole summer, 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Which is way better than shoving it into 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, like, I'm not sure they're telling that story, even though they are. Like, that's all the things that happened with this teacher, but you're never left sitting in the horrible reality that is this guy is going to go work at a school for girls. Like, that's a toss-off.
Yeah.
And it's fucking horrifying if you think about it. You know, if you think this is his cult of personality is such that he will go and ruin lives.
Yeah.
Like, that's super fucked up.
And if you think this shit still isn't happening, it very much is, people.
Oh, I'm sure that, yeah, of course it is. And it's, I don't know, just it's got so much more weight than I think any of us have ever thought about or looked at with this episode. That's some fucked up shit that this episode might have been about. What else might this episode have been about?
Oh gosh, I really see this episode as about how, like, okay, I'm gonna just go for my notes. Adults aren't better than kids. They just know better.
They don't necessarily act better, but they know what they're doing.
Well, exactly. So I'll elaborate a little because, you know, the kids do some messed up shit in this episode. We have Brandon, who foolishly thinks that he can go buy a car and handle that trade off, that contract, without his dad. Stupid, but he's a kid. Brenda slaps another kid in class.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid, but she's a kid. She's a young actor who still, because she's a kid, does not recognize that all of that stuff on screen is fake.
Right.
Like, the more I'm learning from you about wrestling, the more I wish young actors would learn that, because
Sure.
I feel like you go into wrestling, into viewing that, learning this is fake.
Right, but you're supposed to think it's real. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't get that message across enough in theater and film. And partly because you get stories about how this actor stayed in character for this long of a time, or these people really got hit, or these people got injured. And it's like, okay, well, maybe if we had the regulations, or if we treated theater and film the same way we treat wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Where the performers are taught your job is to protect your scene mate.
Yes.
Like, that's the job of a wrestler. It's to make it look like you're hurting someone while absolutely not hurting them.
And so, of course, hated Brenda in that moment. But you know whose job it was to stop and check in with them and make sure the rest of the class knew that wasn't okay? The fucking teacher.
Right, who gave her a standing ovation.
So, and going back to Brandon, it's like, okay, well, who should have fucking said, no, Brandon, you're being a fool. I'm not going to let you go do this on your own. Oh, ding, ding, ding. His dad.
Right.
So, like, I'm reserving a lot of my anger for the adults because I don't think they get enough flack in this episode. I think we expect teenagers to know too much.
I get that. Yeah. And I think there is I think you can understand Jim letting Brandon do it on his own. Because at a certain point, you have to let your kids stand up.
Yeah.
And you have to let them make their mistakes and learn from their mistakes. You can't protect them through everything. It's an expensive lesson that, again, Brandon doesn't have to pay. Like, he didn't have to pay to get Mondale fixed. I guess Mondale just never got fixed.
I guess he got totaled.
Yeah, well, I would think so. As hard as he hit that guy, Jesus.
Yeah.
And, he worked and earned enough money to buy this car, and that's all great. But he didn't have to pay the actual cost of this, but I do think Brandon probably learns a lesson from this, even if it is a little heavy-handed to tell it to him in Latin. Like, everybody knows what caveat emptor means, Jim. Come on. Like, you don't have to... If you're lecturing your kid in Latin, I think that's a problem.
Yeah, that's some extra douchey parenting right there.
It is. But I think... I don't love the caveat emptor part of it, but I do love how, to me, it seems like this episode is about adults giving shit to Brandon.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Brandon just has to eat it from one adult after another in this episode, and it's because of the things he did. Like, Brandon is getting a mild verbal tongue lashing for every decision he made this summer. Like, he gets like Nat gives him a ton of shit before giving him his job back.
Valid.
Yeah, 100%, because Brandon was an asshole and ran out on him. Jim keeps giving Brandon shit about buying a lemon, like in front of Dylan, like, let's go make it a plant in the backyard. And meanwhile, like, actually taking care of the problem and saying you worked hard this summer, but understanding how important it is to keep reminding Brandon that he fucked up. Brandon, you're an idiot. And then the used car guy giving Brandon shit, like, one, selling him a piece of shit car.
Yeah.
And then when Brandon comes back and yells at him, the guy's like, sorry about your luck. I'm going to go over here.
Yeah. Oh, man. The way when Brandon comes up and starts yelling and the salesman just puts his hand up like, no. I thought, oh.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he's done this. He doesn't give a shit because he has your money. And yeah, that was...
Yeah. And you were asking about cashier's checks.
Yes, educate me. I don't know this. Yeah. Never done this.
It's basically you get the check from the bank, and directly from the bank on your account that it's like a regular check, but it's like handing someone cash. Like you're not giving them a personal check that then they cash, that then they go to the bank and their bank talks to this bank and says, can you send us the money? And then they do it and they complete the transaction. Where in between there, you could have less money in your account and the check bounce. A cashier's check comes out of your account when they write it.
Oh, okay.
So you can't bounce it.
Got it.
Yeah. So it is like handing someone cash. Like whenever I pay my taxes, I get a check from the bank that way. Just because I don't want to wait for the government to cash my check and then the money come out and me be like, I don't remember writing, like how long ago did I write that check?
Yeah.
Like that's why I get the cashier's check and do it that way. That's sort of my experience of a cashier's check. But that's what it is. And Jim's contention that they should accept a personal check from Brandon. It's a used car lot, dude. Like, I'm not sure that's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, and the Jim and Brandon of it all was really tough for me. I was like, this is probably just a parenting thing that I'm not going to understand because, like, I get you need to let your kid stand and learn, but this seemed like a big one to just let him
except for Jim was always there as a safety net.
Yeah.
Like he made Brandon feel like he empowered Brandon to try this.
Okay.
And he let Brandon fail, which is great.
Yeah.
Like you have to let your kids fail or they'll never learn to like overcome failure because not everything in life is going to go exactly as they want it to. Like, so you have to give them a chance to fail safely.
Yeah.
And even though this is a high cost failure, it was still an opportunity to fail safely. Brandon absolutely, and it like in some ways this is a great way to do it because he felt the weight of however many months it was where he couldn't drive.
Yeah.
And then he had to get a job where he saved up all of his money and he worked really hard and he was the first person at the beach club and the last person to leave. Again, a lot of responsibility from Henry for someone who has only given him problems.
Yeah.
But Brandon worked long hours. And he did it. He bought this car. He's feeling good about himself. And then he learns that he didn't do it well enough.
Yeah.
And he failed. And he fucked up. And he's got to live in that. And Jim lets him sit in it. Like, he just lets him stew in his own stupidity, which is something I don't think people let Brandon do enough.
That's true.
Jim let him feel the entire thing. And then, as that support, as that safety net, this wasn't just failing, it was failing safely.
Yeah.
He fixed the car up for him. So, like, I actually kind of think this is pretty good parenting on Jim's part.
Okay.
It comes off harsh.
Yeah.
It comes off maybe neglectful. But I don't think it is. I think it's intentional. He offers like a million times, let me go check this car out with you. Oh, you want to do it yourself? All right, go ahead, dum-dum. Let's see how this works. Oh, you fucked it up? Big shock there. I wonder who's been telling you that you're going to fuck this up. Me. Like,
I'm wondering if, and we have no way other than to find a statistic or just talk to people, but like, I wonder if boys are given the chance to fail more than girls, because I really can't think, either from my personal life or from stories, I can't think of where women are, like young girls are allowed to make these kinds of mistakes.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's not one of those things that when I was growing up, people were thinking about. Like, not that I'm aware of as an active parenting technique, or as a lesson that you need to impart to your kids. I think the first time I heard that concept was when I was working in a grade school, talking to a high school, and saying, what information do you want the kids that leave our school to have? How can we best prepare them to succeed at the next level? And there were a number of things they said. But the big one was, we need you to teach them how to fail and then overcome. We need you to teach them to fail in a safe environment. Yeah. Kids need that. And things like chemistry class are great for that, because you fail over and over as you try to figure out how to make shit work. But then you see that, oh, this failure wasn't catastrophic. It was a learning opportunity and all of that kind of stuff. And, like you don't want the lesson. You don't want your kid to learn, don't drive drunk by driving drunk. That is not, that's not failing in a safe place. But wasting money on a car that you didn't bother to check out, that's a pretty big fail and a very safe way to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
If you have the money to fix the problem afterwards, like Jim has. Not everybody can fix the engine in a car that their son just blew $2,500 on. Understandable. But in this circumstance, and this is Brandon failing safely and Jim allowing it.
Whereas we don't get that at all from Suter, who, obviously is not a parent. He's barely, compared to the kids, he's an adult. But I mean, as we all know now, I say as a 30-something, he's a 20-something. He's not an adult. He's not. He probably can't even get a rental car yet.
Not without paying extra.
Yeah. So, oh my God, I just want to nitpick little things because, that's how much I loathe him. I think I texted you, the ultimate douchey director move is wearing a turtleneck.
It's pretty douchey in most contexts, I think.
Especially in the summer, too. I was like, what the fuck, man? This isn't Love Actually, and you're in London at Christmas time. This is LA in August. Yeah,
this is very warm. Kelly's got fucking eczema, for God's sake.
Yeah, poor thing. I feel you. I know. But yeah, so... And granted, unfortunately, what Brenda did would not be considered failing, in that class. Right. It should be.
It was rewarded, yeah.
Yeah, and it so often is, because we treat it, because it brings up the real emotion. How'd you get there? By letting the anger build up in the scene.
Right.
And then that's rewarded, and it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish that there was some lesson that Brendo got from this summer beyond that she's an actor and a bitch.
Yeah, because she's sitting there later on just saying oh, I was a supreme bitch, rewarding herself with ice cream.
That's right. Oh, do we have a total? Do we have a tally?
Oh, it's even 3 and 6. Not even. It's 3-6. So ice cream went up 1.
Okay, so 3 condoms, 6 ice cream?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. 2-to-1 ratio ice cream to condoms. That's crazy. But like Brenda doesn't really get to learn the I'm okay on my own lesson that I think she was wanting to learn when the summer started.
No. Because
that's unfortunate.
She focused on other people. Like, she may have taken an acting class for herself, but then she became hooked on being teacher's pet, even though she was playing like she had no idea what Andrea was talking about.
Right. Yeah.
And
you think so?
She was going to do whatever it was to look impressive to this one-time auditioner, live in New York for maybe a month.
Right.
Acting teacher.
Right.
And so just for some context for people, like, they do the scene. First of all, too, they had discussed the slap like Andrea was going to get to do it. But then,
no, I don't think they did. I don't think they did.
I misinterpreted.
This morning, it was like Brenda was saying, just move your head to the side. It'll look like I never made contact.
Oh, okay.
That's the way they're discussing. She's like, why do I cross to you? And what's your motivation? And
okay.
Jealous is my motivation. With Andrea and her little notebook. So no, it is, because I watched that this morning and thought, is that? But no, it is. Brenda was always going to be the one slapping.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And again, when they discussed that they were doing this scene, they should have known that they could go to their teacher. Well, the teacher should have known the scene. Like, the scene would have had to be approved by Suter.
He suggested it.
Oh, well, then there you go. So then, yeah, he should have gone over and discussed some fight choreo.
Right.
Because it would have been a great opportunity for them to learn how to also, like, work these mechanics into your acting.
Okay. I just had a real fucked up thought.
Oh, no. Tell me.
Suter suggests the scene. Then he goes out on the town with both of them. He chooses one of them. He knew this was going to happen the whole time. He set it up so that they fought over him on stage, and Brenda slapped the shit out of Andrea. He did it all on purpose.
Oh my God. I hate him.
How fucked up is that?
It's so sick. Oh my God. I'm really thankful now that Say that again?
Chris Suter's the worst person maybe ever.
He's the worst person ever. If we get anyone worse than him on this show, this desk is going to break. I'm going to throw things. The TV might break. What have you gotten me into?
I'm telling. Okay, here's what's so fucked up about this. Literally before this morning, I never thought how bad Chris Suter is. I just thought he was a shitty summer teacher, whatever, shouldn't try to date students. But if he's orchestrating this kind of real life drama just to give him a theater chubby, like to manipulate girls and then to get a job where he can manipulate an entire school's worth of girls, I didn't realize how bad he was. I'm pretty sure he's not the worst person we're ever going to see on this show. So I apologize for that. But Chris Suter is way worse than I thought he was. And motherfucker, this guy's terrible.
Like, I hate this, but I guess I should, I'm also thankful that I'm pretty sure my personal incident with being slapped on stage night after night, like at least in Brenda or at least in Andrea's case, it was one time, which still traumatic. But then I got slapped for 8 shows.
Yeah.
In various parts of of my cheek, one night so hard across my jaw that I was like, oh, how do you fix that?
And you never did it hurts right here. Not so much here or here, but right here.
Yeah.
You should have given the Tommy boy.
I think if I had felt like I could trust this actor, if I had, oh man, again, if only I had felt like I could go to the director. But again, this director thought it was going to be easier and look better to just have me struck instead of doing fight choreography.
Well, let me say this about your real life experience. I don't know anything about it beyond what you just said. But I want to tell you for certain that your director was not trying to get off on it the way that Chris Suter was. I don't want you down that rabbit hole.
I do absolutely know that much. Like, this. Yeah. Plus, it was a guy hitting me. Not to say that he couldn't have enjoyed watching a man or a young boy hit a young girl.
Right.
But, like, no, I don't think it was that. I think it was stupid negligence, you know?
I just didn't want to send you down a Suter spiral.
No, I appreciate that. I'm okay.
The bottom of a Suter hole would be not a fun place to be, I don't think.
Like, obviously, I still get mad about it. Obviously, anytime... Well, I haven't done a show in a while now, but, like, when there is fight stuff that comes up, I am a big pusher for we need to do this safely or not at all.
Yeah. No, that's good.
It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta take care of your scene partner, just like professional wrestlers.
Exactly. Because if you get injured, you can't do your job.
That's right. And I mean, this is a whole thing, but whatever. Wrestlers are independent contractors, and it's better now. But in the territory days, if you got hurt and you couldn't work, that was it. You don't have any money.
Yeah.
Like, you have no money coming in. So you really got to take care of people, or you're putting your hand in their pocket and making it impossible to actually live, because they don't get paid sick time.
Well, and the majority of actors are independent contractors, because unfortunately we're not all working union gigs. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bad setup.
It is.
But, neither here nor there as it pertains to this episode. So one other thing, I think, are we okay to transition away from how fucked up Chris Suter is?
Yes.
Whew. Yeesh. So I think one of the things that this episode is about is that summer is an illusion. And it's a wonderful illusion.
Yes.
But it's not true. And because we get to the end of summer, and a few things have changed, but, we worked very briefly at the beach club. We spent time very briefly at the Beverly Hills Beach Club. Now we're going to go back to the Peach Pit, where we've spent so much of our time and where we're going to spend more time.
Yeah.
So the illusion of the beach club is concluded. It's time to move on. The Brenda being apart from Dylan seems to be an illusion that is maybe going to resolve itself once school starts up again. Some things have changed for Kelly and for David, and their relationship with each other seems to be evolving in a way. Nothing at all changed for Steve.
No.
I mean, he's going to probably wear fewer tank tops, next week or the week after. But other than that, it seems to be status quo for Steve-O. Brandon has a car again. He's working at the job he was working at before the summer. All of those things, when the eczema comes back and the back to school sales start on TV and the hukilau happens, it's time to move on. And those summer nights are gone.
Yep.
It's time to go back to school and pretend like you don't know that Australian chick.
The wind changes and Mary Poppins must leave.
That's right. Got to float off into the sun.
Yeah.
On an umbrella. I like the illusion of it. Like I have such fond memories of these episodes, these summer episodes. Even like, and there's some people next summer too that you're like, Jesus Christ, these people. But so like, there's a lot of things in the summer episodes that I just think, oh my Lord, like, I always think of Sandy and Jerry, and their relationship in that first episode where she's Brandon gets deep up into Jerry's extramarital affairs and all of that shit, and Henry and his what does he watch? It's not Days of Our Lives.
No, wait. All My Children?
Oh, no, it's not All My Children. God
Isn't it
damn
Days of Our Lives?
It might be Days of Our Lives. Oh man, I can't believe it. But that I just sort of spaced on Henry's soap opera watching. But like, I really like all of those things as a vibe,
Yeah.
But then you're like, whew. I mean, if this was a long form story about a serial predator working in a high school, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like this was an illusion.
Yeah, this was quite a summer. And of course, it's over, but it's also not, because I know the next episode is camping and it's like an end of summer thing, a la the Parent Trap. So
yeah, and it's I don't know. I mean, I'm glad to be moving past summer back into the school year.
Me too.
Let's get off the beach club, get back to Nat.
It speaks to, because my favorite summers, I think, were high school and college, where you start having a little bit more freedom.
Sure.
And of course, like, I remember in high school especially, I loved the idea of falling in love and having like summer romance.
Sure.
But yeah, it's all an illusion,
Yeah. Yeah, but it's one that we like. It's one that we willingly provide to ourselves.
I mean, put me back in that illusion. Oh, I would love it. I would love that fantasy.
I mean, you can do it every year if you want to. This is going to be the summer of Leslie.
I'm not as good at lying to myself as I used to be, or believing in the fantasy. But maybe that's where I need to get more into VR and
there you go.
Just live in it.
Yeah. Just get that $6,000 headset and walk around town with it.
New York is so beautiful now.
I know.
Oh, wow.
There was an interesting comic book that I read that it was a digital comic, and it was about a world where everybody had their own filter on.
Ooh.
So like, you could walk through the world and it could look like a film noir, or it could look like a future landscape, but you're still interacting with the same people. But like, to me, you might look like a steampunk chick, and to you, I might look like an alien, from the planet Gleep Glorp or whatever, and it was just kind of interesting, like those filters. It sort of took it to the next level. So that doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I thought it was
that's cool.
It was a cool comic book. Yeah. All right. What else might this episode have been about?
I mean, it perpetuates the idea of sisters before misters, but it just alludes to the fact that there's going to be a mister again.
Yeah. And maybe not between Brenda and Andrea, maybe between whoever and whoever. Like, it doesn't matter. And that kind of drama is easy to percolate in teen dramas, where let's switch the pairings and see what happens. So maybe or maybe not, things like that might happen.
I have a feeling they will.
I shan't say.
I know.
But we pretty much covered like all of the things that I had thoughts about, which was, and then way deeper into the Chris Suter of it all, which is like that may give me nightmares moving forward. I'm not sure.
Well, welcome to my head.
Yeah. I'd rather have the hukilau.
Yeah, I mean, well, now you're going to have that with the hukilau in the background, like a horror film.
I know. So. Yeah, it's like Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did this to the old Ludwig von.
Here's at least a silver lining in all this. I feel like
David
Andrea,
Silverman.
no, not David Silver. Andrea
The
really
Silver
got to
DVS.
Andrea really got to hold her own, and
Yeah.
even though she was emotionally hurt, and this
Mm-hmm.
will definitely mess with her brain a little bit because he said some fucked up shit to
Right.
gaslight her, and he definitely
Mm-hmm.
groomed her and Brenda. Like,
Yeah.
she was physically unharmed.
Mm-hmm.
She again got to they let her speak in the I thought the scene between her and Chris was great.
Yeah.
Um I know Andrea's gonna be okay. I'm glad they
Right.
have it go further. I'm glad she even though I'm sure she would have loved to have become more physically involved and like
Mm-hmm.
mature, I think at the same time she learned a valuable lesson without having to have sex with Suitor.
Yeah. Well, thank God. Yeah. Thank God he got that job before their date.
Yeah, otherwise he would have forgotten that he had a girlfriend.
Right.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. He sucks. Chris Suter sucks.
I hope
And
he gets IBS and that it's terrible and that he has to have a colostomy bag on him. That's how
oh,
much I
there you
can't.
go.
That's how
That's a
much I
very
dislike him.
specific. Yeah, I like it. That's a very specific wish for this
Well,
Elvis looking motherfucker.
I'm evil and I go for the more torturous things.
No, I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's appropriate, especially as it pertains to this monster.
Yes.
You know what? I was just thinking about why it doesn't feel like he's a monster until you really think about all the stuff he does. It's because when when he is in the car with both of the girls and they're taking him around Los Angeles, it's cut to fucking Roxette. Like that's Joyride, the song
Yeah.
that's playing there. It is upbeat, it is poppy, it is look how fun this is. We're having a really good time. There's no menace to what you're shown. There's no the music doesn't
He's a nice
betray.
guy.
He is. He's just out having a great old time. He has a
Yeah.
nice chat with Brandon, you know?
Yeah.
I just man.
He's
Yeah, the
just
more I think about
Ken.
Chris Suter. He's what?
He's just Ken.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god.
Anywhere else, he'd be a 10. Not in my heart.
No, not here. Not on
No.
this podcast. Dear Lord. All right, so I think that brings us to Nostalgia Corner.
Yes.
What when you came out of this dark fucking tunnel, what bright light of nostalgia were you presented with?
In spite of everything, I do still have fond memories of acting scenes. Here,
Mm.
I mean, at the end of the day, like I do still love acting when
Mhm.
when all the ingredients are just right. It's amazing. And I
Yeah.
have some great memories of acting scenes either done as exercises for class or I mean, we always had a final scene that we had to work on, and those were a lot of fun because you had spent a semester with 15 other classmates, gotten close to them, and now you were getting to like direct your own scene
Mhm.
and act, do cool adult shit that, because it just goes back to a time where you're so eager to prove that you can convey these things, even though
Mhm.
you're a teenager or a young
Right.
20 something. And it's wonderful to get
Mhm.
to do that, to get to work
Yeah.
on it, figure out what works and what doesn't work, and then to get to perform it.
Mhm.
Even if your teacher is an asshole and you don't realize that yet. But all things considered, I miss working on acting scenes,
Nice.
miss getting to bring characters to life.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing to be nostalgic for.
Yeah.
But it's also not something that is exclusively in the past.
No.
Which is great.
Hopefully.
You can make that happen. You can get in acting classes. You can work on scenes shit.
That's true.
You can relive that.
Yeah.
Or just live it.
Yeah.
You don't have to relive nothing.
No.
I think this episode gives me false nostalgia for something I never experienced, but I feel like I did.
Yeah.
Which is that end of summer blowout. That put the capper on it. Summer is over. Let's look back wistfully at the things that we've learned and move on.
Yeah.
Into the new school year or the new whatever. I like that feeling that I literally have only had from TV shows. Because in real life, it's like, oh, there's going to be a party on whatever. If there's a party, there's just like, oh, okay. And that's just a thing you do that day. And then the next day you've got to like, oh, shit, I've got to go to school now. Like there was no like moment. There was just going on.
Yep.
Like summer's over. Tomorrow, like today is over. Tomorrow is now. It's just, you're gone. You're doing it. So I'm nostalgic for that feeling. And I get it kind of every time I watch end of summer episodes of shows, if they have them.
Yeah.
Which 90210 has a few. So, that feeling is a good one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that. Who is your Steve Sanders Memorial Worst Person of the Episode?
Oh, it's no longer the Steve Sanders Memorial. It's the Chris Suter Memorial. Jesus
I don't want to talk about Chris Suter ever again, so we cannot name this award after him.
No, we can't. We can't. I know that. It's Chris Suter forever and always. I need someone to make a fake article about this man losing his education license.
Yeah. Before he hurt somebody else.
I might need to write some fanfic about the girls' school that he goes to. And they all, they all just converge together to ruin his life.
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh, man, I want to write it now. Fanfic idea.
I like it.
Oh, man, yeah, I want that to happen. It's Chris Suter forever.
Yeah. So I just want to say this out loud because maybe I'll remember it when we get to season 10. But this was there's a missed opportunity here, and I don't want to say anything more. So
okay. Wait until season 10?
I think it's season 10. Might be season 9. It's Chris Suter. Like before today, I thought it's Brenda. Like Brenda is nasty as fuck in this episode.
Supreme bitch.
She's horrible to Andrea. She smacks her face, like she put hands on her. Up until now, up until Chris Suter, was like, "Ooh, I'm the pet." She was like focused bound Dylan again, and now she's done with that. Like, who cares about Dylan? There's this guy. And then she's just really nasty to Andrea. Just really, really nasty. So it was like, I was like, this is a total, if people hate Brenda, it's because of shit like this. Because everything she does is awful in this episode. But it's Chris Suter.
Yeah.
God, he sucks.
Because he knows better.
Yeah, he did all that shit on purpose.
Yeah.
Like that's such a mess. I don't like it. All right, but I think we can move on from. Did we pass or did we not pass?
Oh my god, I want to pass this episode forever.
Like a gallstone.
Yeah. Just take it.
Get this out of here.
Cut it open. Cut it out, Doc.
I don't need it. So yeah, I think we're fucking done with this shit. Let's move on next week to season 2, episode 7, Camping Trip. And it says that there were no songs featured in this episode. That's interesting to me. I guess we'll have to see.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I don't know what we're going to do to start the song. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how heavy it is. But I'll be interested to see what you think when you see the gang go camping next week.
Oh, I'm so excited.
All right. Until then, Cheesemeisters.
Bye.
Bye.